G'day folks, my name's Cleggy, and what we're about to do is a bit of a pinpointer test, and here they are here. There's 5 of them, and we're going to just try them on a few different targets and see how they run and give you a bit of an idea of range and stuff like that. Now, one thing I haven't done through the testing side of things is gone through different features and stuff like that. So right at the end of the video, there's a little brief wrap up, and I'll just dive into features and all that sort of stuff of these different pinpointers. Now, I've got to say this video is probably going to go close to 50 minutes, maybe an hour. It's some tedious stuff, trust me, watching someone go beep, 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 beep. So there are results at the end of each one. Just have a bit of a look and see. The idea is to get, I suppose, a comparison of, popular pinpointers like Garrett, mi-6, White's TRX, and then throw a couple of the, for want of a better term, budget brands pinpointers into the mix as well, from Mars and Gold Digger, and just see how it all goes for you and give you a bit of an idea, because it's very rare that you'll walk into a detecting shop in Australia and be able to have 5 different pinpointers on the counter ready for you to test. So I really do hope this helps. I hope it doesn't bore you to death. Grab a cup of coffee, you might need it. And at the end, I'll run you through some of the features and stuff like that, and why one costs $250 and why one costs $140. So, all right, have a quick look at the test videos. It's coming up now. Fast forward past the boring bits, and I'll see you at the end, and we'll do a quick wrap up on all these pinpointers. And thanks very much to Lost Treasures in Brisbane for lending me the Garrett Carrot, because I don't own one and I've never used one. So that was a very interesting test for me. So thank you very much to them. Big shout out. All right, guys, pinpointer test coming up. Go and make a coffee. Here we go. Thanks very much. My name's Cleggy, and I'll talk to you again after all the testing for the wrap up. Enjoy. Bye. Thank you. Hi folks, we're inside now, going to test out the pinpointers today. So White's TRX, MARSMD, Garrett Carrot, Land or Sea, mi-6. These are the targets I'm going to use. Now I've got 4 targets here. You might not be able to see 1 or 2 of them, but I'll show you in a second. And I'm also going to use this handy block of wood. The reason is, rather than test them by sliding the coin or moving the coin, I'm going to actually use the pinpointer. Because in the field, that's what we do. We use the pinpointer. The coins and targets don't come at us or don't move. So we will go at the target with the pinpointer. And the idea of the block of wood is to hold the target so I can do it hands-free and there's nothing in the way, so that nothing sort of skews the results. I've got 2 gold targets here. We've got the first little piece here. It's only a tiny little one. About 0.1, a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is wrap it in this here piece of cling wrap, and it's already sliding around everywhere. And once it's wrapped in there, I think it'll be that hard to do. So we've got the little tiny 0.1 inside the cling wrap there. I've also got a larger piece here, 1.73. I won't bother with the cling wrap and stuff for that one. So 1.7. This is a little 1936 thrip. So 1.36 grams. It's half clean, half crusty. It's a dug coin. So it's not one out of the coin collection. That's a crusty coin out of the ground. And also the good old 2-bucker. So just putting them on the scale so you can see that they're actual coins and not fakes. This is a 2010 $2 coin. They're the 4 targets. I'm not going to do 4,000 targets. What I'll do is each pinpointer individually, and then at the end we'll just quickly assess the results, and you can make your decision on which one may or may not suit your preferences. Alright guys, thanks very much. I'll just get ready for the first one, and we will start with the White's TRX. Alright, won't be a second. Okay, let's test the White's TRX. Got the cap off, just want to show you we're going to use the Energizer Lithium Ultimate battery. It's a pretty good battery. If you're going to use a good pinpointer or any pinpointer, the quality of the battery is going to make a huge difference. So use a good battery. It really, really does make a humongous difference to your detecting. Okay, White's TRX, let's see how it goes. Let's turn him back on. Get him tuned into the room. Okay, here we go. Sliding it down the scale. 9 centimeters, 8. And at about 7.5 centimeters, it just starts to tick. And it maxes out at about 1.5 centimeters on the $2 coin. So it's a 7.5, 1.5 max out. On the $2. Now with the little rig here that I've got, I'll put the $2 coin on its side very quickly. And we'll just try it on its side. See if and I think my little tripod may be a little bit too close. I'll just get it well out of range. That's what I like about these higher end pinpointers. One button you can tune them in and make them sort of calm down. I've got all these pinpointers maxed out, so they're all on their wired edge. And to hold the camera up, obviously I need a tripod. So it's really hard to do it completely in a non-metal environment. Underneath us is no metal, and I know that because I went over it with the pinpointers before I started. So let's try that again. It's now tuned in on edge, $2 coin. And that's ticking away at 5. So 5 centimeters on edge, which isn't bad really. So I'm just recording the results down, sorry, as we go. So that's the $2 coin. Let's get it out of the rig, put the pointer back. And this is a little 1936 threepence. And we'll just move it in. I'm going to give that, it's really about 6.5 centimeters till it ticks. Again, maxes out about that 1.5 centimeters. So I'll give it 6.5 on the thrip, and I'll just put it in the jigger sideways, scale right next to it, and we'll come at the little thrip on its edge. Oh. About 2 centimeters thrip on edge. And the same sort of max out on a thrip on its thing, but it won't max out on the thrip until you're right on it. So it doesn't, it's kind of got a 0 max out. It really has to be touching the target, which is handy with these smaller targets to be able to do that. So that's the thrip and the $2 coin. What I got here now is the 1.7 gram nugget. Oh, put that near metal. Oh, and I'll just get this set up correctly. I'm going to try and do this nugget at the same angle for each pinpointer. So I'll see how we go. So in we come at the little 1.7 gram gold nugget. And that's ticking away. That's just over 3 centimeters, but it's definitely not 3.5. So I'm going to call it 3 centimeters. And it maxes out about 1/2 centimeter away from it. So we'll go 3 centimeters that it starts to tick. Maxes out about 1/2 centimeter away. And obviously with a nugget, we're just going to do the one angle. I could come at it from 100 angles and we'd probably get 100 results. But for the sake of the argument, we will just do the one angle. Alright, we'll move the 1.7. And this is a little tiny fella. Now I'm going to put him in the little slot here. And so he's right on the edge of the wood. I'm pretty sure you should be able to see that there. And there's hardly any cling film at all. Now, I'm giving it about a 1mm benefit over the other pinpointers because the target's right up against the edge. There's no target in between. So this is the little tiny 0.1 gram nugget. We're coming at it with the TRX, so 4 centimeters, 3, 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter, and maxes out on touch. So we'll just try and replicate that once again, very slowly. Look, that's spot on 1 centimeter, and 0 max out. It really has to be touching for it to max out. So there it is, that's the White's TRX, and I'll put these results up, they'll probably pop up on the screen now, and again at the end I'll review them, and might even make a PDF document for you to download at the bottom of the video. So, alright, that's the White's TRX. Let's move on and do the next one. Thanks very much, see you in the next test video. Okay folks, welcome to the pinpointer test. What we've got next is the MARSMD pinpointer. This is from the Ukraine, from the MARSMD company. These guys make the coils and the universal shafts. This is a pulse induction pointer, 12 kilohertz. Without further ado, let's start the testing. Put the little $2 coin in the jigger. One button on and off, nice and easy. Oop. And away we go. Coming down 7 centimeters, 6, about 5 centimeters for the $2 coin. And it maxes about 2 centimeters off the target. So it's a 5 centimeter tick, 2 centimeter max. And we'll just give it a quick go on edge. Coming at the $2 coin on edge with the MARSMD. Three centimeters. And maxes out about 1/2 centimeter away. So we'll put 3 centimeters on edge for the $2 coin. Okay. Our little 1936 strippers. Into the jig and away we go. 4 centimeters. Oh, there it is. The coin fell over. 4 centimetres, and about a centimetre away from max out. So 4 centimetres for the thrip, or 1 centimetre max. And we'll just put the little fella in the jig and try him on edge. Three, 2 centimetres. Yeah, about 1.5 centimetres it picks that up, and really needs to be touching it to, oh, lost pointer alarm. And really not even maxing out on it, on the edge, till we come round to the sides. So we'll call it a 1.5 centimetre on edge. Alright, 1.7 grammer. I'll just make sure I get this the right way round. It's got a little flat bit on it for me to sit. Okay, 1.7 gram nugget. The MarsMD. Looking at about 1.5 centimetres. And maxes out on touch. 1.5 centimetres. 0 max out. I'll put that one aside. And I'll just set up the little tiny nugget. Again, it's got that tiny little kind of 1 millimetre advantage over the other pointers, but make sure the nugget's around the flat way. Alright, there we go. Alright, little 0.1. Sure he's on. 0.1 gram nugget. MarsMD. Coming into that 1 centimetre mark. And really doesn't indicate until contact on the tiny little 0.1. Look, I can give it 5 mil. 5 millimetres. You know, that 0.5 centimetre. Doesn't max out on the little nugget either. So even right on top, you hear that's a max out. That's the little 0.1 gram nugget. Alright, so we've tested the 4 targets there. Again, the results will be up on the screen. And I will tabulate these at the end and we'll have a look. So that's the MarsMD pointer. Okay, thanks very much, and we'll have the next one up very soon. And welcome back to the pinpointer test. The next one off the rank is the Gold Digger Innovative Products Land or Sea pinpointer. Very good little pinpointer, couple of sensitivity levels, waterproof, all that stuff. Not a bad little machine, so let's give it a run. And we'll start with our $2 coin. And switch him on. And off we go. Straight into it. And coming up on 7 centimetres. There it is. Starts to tick at 6.5 centimetres. And it maxes out at really at 3 centimetres. So a 6.5 tick. or it starts to indicate at 6.5 centimeters. It maxes out at 3 centimeter max. And we'll put the $2 coin on edge, the purpose-built $2 coin holder. Okay, coming at the $2 coin on edge, land or sea. Right on 3 centimeters, and it maxes out really about a centimeter away, but so we'll say 3 centimeter edge on the $2 coin. The thrip, just a reminder, it's a 1936, so it's a 92.5% silver and super crusty. Been a nice looking coin in its day. And coming at the 1936 threepence, and I've just knocked it over. Alright, try that again. 1936 strip. And that's indicating at about 5 centimeters. And again, maxing out at about that 2.5, 3 centimeter level. I'll just double check that one. 5 centimeter indication, and that's max there, and it's really about 2.5 centimeter max. So a 5 centimeter indication, and I do apologise for doing this a couple of times. I just want to be pretty accurate if I can. Yeah, we'll call it a 5 centimeter indication, where it starts to tick on the thrip and it maxes out at about 2.5 centimeter. Now we'll try the little thrip on edge, and same little thrippence, coming at it on edge this time. Heading down towards that 2 centimeter mark. That's 2 centimeters. And we're about a centimeter away on edge. And again, won't max out until we come around to the edges. So we'll say 1 centimeter on edge. And I'll just get this little fella around the right way again. There it is. The 1.7 gram nuggets next. And just for interest's sake, it's a Victorian gold nugget. Just recycle this so it doesn't send off the lost pointer alarm on me. Alright, here we go. 1.7 gram nugget, land or sea. Through that 5 centimeter mark, 4, 3. We're looking at about 2.5 centimeters. And maxes out about 0.5 centimeter from it. So we get an indication at 2.5 centimeters, and it maxes out at 0.5 centimeter max. And again, we won't come at it from 1,000 angles. 2.5. Yeah, can't give it 3 centimeters, so we'll call it 2.5. Now I'll just get this little fella here set up. Make sure he's round flat. There we go. So this is 0.1 gram nugget, and quite a thin flake. And what I'm doing is coming at it from its thickest edge. So a 0.1 gram nugget, land or sea pinpointer. In we come. 3 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter, contact. Now that truly is contact. There might be a millimetre in there. I'd be lucky, to be honest, to fit a sheet of paper between that. And as you can see, pushed right up hard against it, not maxing out at all. So really I think what we'll do is just call that contact. No max. On the little tiny 0.1 gram nugget there. I don't know if you call it a nugget. It's a little flake of gold. And all Victorian gold, I think I've mentioned. So there's our 4 targets. That's the land or sea. The only thing I want to point out real quickly about this one is its red indication light differentiates it from all the other pinpointers, and it's probably got one of the brightest LED lights of the lot. So that's it, the Gold Digger Land or Sea waterproof pinpointer. You've seen the test results, they're up on the screen there for you. Thanks very much. Let's move on to the next one and see how that performs. Welcome back to the pointy end of the pinpointer test, guys. Excuse the pun. Next up's the Garrett Carrot. We couldn't really do a test without a Garrett Carrot. So here it is. I've wound it up to a high sensitivity level, so we'll give it a run through on the test. Arguably the market leader. Certainly the most recommended and probably the highest selling as far as volume goes of pinpointers in Australia. And kicking around Facebook groups and that sort of thing, when people ask what pinpointer to get, this is the one that I think comes up more often than any other. So definitely got to give it a go. So I've switched her on. Let's come at the $2 coin. Now, as I said, I have adjusted it. All the pinpointers are on maximum sensitivity. And we're starting to get an indication there at about 7 centimeters, pretty well spot on. I'll just give it another go. Really about 6.5 centimeters. 6.5 centimeters it starts to indicate on the $2 coin. And we'll just do a quick max out test. 6.5, spot on 6.5. And that's maxing out at pretty close to 3 centimeters. So I've got to say I'm a little surprised by that one. 3 centimeter max out. I thought we would have got a lot closer. 3 centimeter max out off a 6.5 centimeter indication. So $2 coin on his edge. Garrett Carrot. .5 centimeters on edge. And just do a quick max out test. It's about 5 millimeters off until it maxes out on the $2 coin there. Okay, 1936 threepence. Sterling silver, just as a reminder. And coming at it with the Carrot. .5 centimeters. We'll just replicate that again. Yep, spot on 4.5 centimeters for the Carrot with the thrip, and we'll just do a quick max out test. That's a 2 centimeter max out on the thrip. So it's maxing out about 2 centimeters from the thrippence. I'll put him on edge. And Garrett Carrot, thrippets on edge. Look, I'm going to give it a centimetre, but it's not half a centimetre. Well, I haven't said that. It is half a centimetre. So thrip on edge. Thrip on edge is about 1 centimetre on edge. And again, like the Landor Sea and the MarsMD, it doesn't really max out until we get around to the edge of the coin. So that was the little thrippence, and we'll get the nugget on the right angle. Now all these pointers are being tested in the exact same conditions using the exact same target, so the results are kind of relative in that regard, in that they're all performing in the same conditions. Okay, the Garrett Carrot coming at a 1.7 gram gold nugget, and we're 3 centimeters, 2.5, 2 centimeters, and definite indication there at 2 centimeters. And we'll just try the max out. I'll come in and see if I can get it a bit further away. No. And it's only 2 or 3 mil till it maxes out. Sorry, 2 to 3 millimeter max. And that was the 1.7, and I'll just set up the little tiny 0.1 gram, I should say. Make sure he's on the flat side, like all the others. There we go. And here we go. Garrett Carrot, 0.1 gram nugget. That was a little false on something. 0.1 gram. And we're down to a centimetre. And that's contact. So it won't really indicate until full contact. And even then, it's losing it a bit. Oh, I lost it. Point 1. Well, that's interesting. It won't indicate off the... but it'll indicate at about half a centimetre off the side. So the 0.1 really is 0 centimetres off the tip. I would never have thought of doing this test, if I'm honest, this side test. It seems to pick it up. Really on contact. Maybe a little gap around the edges, so that's the 0.1 gram nugget. So that's the Garrett Carrot on all 4 targets. We've got it all here. The results are up there on your screen. And we will move on to the last of the pointers in this test. All right, see you for the next one. Okay, welcome back to the pinpointer test. We're up to the XP Detector's mi-6. This is probably the latest one on the market. Well, not probably, definitely is the latest one on the market. integrates with the Deus system wirelessly, very similar adjustments to a Carrot in its factory form when you're not using it with a Deus. When you are using it with a Deus, you do get a little bit more program ability and so forth. I'm going to use the remote because that's the only way to crank the sensitivity off its head. It does have low, medium and high, but high isn't quite full bore on the standard setting. So I've got the remote there, and once I turn the pointer on, it will take over the remote there, and you can see it indicates. And out of habit, I haven't put the speaker on, so I will put the speaker on now and solve that problem after I turn the pointer off. Very sorry, just habit to hit speaker no, because quite often I've got my headphones on. In fact, nearly all the time. So that's the remote over there. Turn it on. And you'll notice straight up a very different sound. It does have a bit mode, but we're going to use the pitch because it's a hell of a lot more accurate on distance. Is the simple thing there. And we'll just have a quick look at sensitivity settings. I've got it on 46. Any higher and it's a little bit off its head. As I said, we're using the pitch tone. We can adjust the tone a little bit, but we'll just leave it as is. Sensitivity. Okay. So we're all set up with the mi-6, and it's probably going to be half a pig because it's maxed out. What I'm going to have to do is just quickly tune it into the environment. So I've done that. Alright, mi-6, $2 coin, 46 sensitivity out of a max of 50. I said at 50 it's a little bit off its head, and to be honest at 46 it's a little bit off its head. But anyway, let's go. $2 coin, mi-6. Slightest buzz at 7.5 centimeters. Look, you could nearly give that 8, but I won't. I think 7.5 is a more accurate. And we'll try the max. And that's at about 1 centimetre, that little max sound that you can hear on the pitch. It is a little bit more accurate than the beeping. I think at the beeping you could probably add a tiny bit of distance to that. So we've got 7.5 centimetres where it ticks on the $2 coin. 1 centimetre until it maxes out. $2 coin on edge. And 6 centimetres. Faintest buzz at 6 centimetres. And that's really not maxing until it touches on edge. Right. And we're getting a little bit off our head again. Retune. And again, that's the advantage of these higher end pinpointers, just being able to retune them. We're looking at about that 5 centimetre mark on edge. After a quick little retune. 1936 threepence. Recycle so I don't get the lost alarm. And here we go, 1936 thrip. Sterling silver. 6 centimetres. Very faint buzz. I'm going to say 5.5 centimetres till you can truly hear that. And really just a couple of millimetres till it maxes out. So just before touch it maxes out, thrip on its edge. 4. And about 2 centimetre thrip on edge. Yeah, 2 centimetres on edge. And again, doesn't really max out until we get round to the sides. Okay, the 1.7 at the correct angle. And there it is. Okay, 1.7 gram nugget, mi-6 pinpointer from XP. 6 centimetres, 5 centimetres. And right on that 4 centimetre line it breaks through and starts making a small hum. And really doesn't max out until you touch it. So 4 centimetres on the 1.7, and it doesn't max till you touch it. And the little 0.1, let's send him down. Little 0.1 gram nugget. Very faint buzz at 2 centimetres. And I mean faint. And maxes out on touch. We'll give it 2 centimetres. Giving it 2 centimetres on the 0.1, and it doesn't max until we're touching it, so a 0 max out. So that's the XP pointer. Done it on all 4 targets, so that's all the pointers now. The results are up on the screen for the XP. And just in 1 second, we'll do a quick review. Have a quick look at all the results and the combatants, and you can head off, make a decision over what pinpointer you think's going to do you the best justice in the field, because at the end of the day, my opinion and these tests matter nothing if you're not happy. So as a user of pinpointers, select the one that meets all your standards, budget, all that sort of thing. Got the features you want, buy the best you can afford as always, and I'll see you in the wrap-up. Thanks very much, guys. Hope you enjoyed the pinpointer shootout, and as I said, wrap-up coming in just a second. Sorry, I hope you made it through that test. It was pretty tedious to make, and I do apologise if it did get a bit boring, but the other thing I want to point out that it is in no way scientific. It's just me poking some pinpointers at some targets in as non-metal an environment as I could, like within reason. I mean, let's face it, if there's metal a little bit over there, it ain't really going to matter with something that's got a range of 5 or 6 centimetres. So I tried to do it as accurately as possible, and all the results popped up there on the screen for you, and there's a PDF down below that you can download and compare notes and have a quick look. So as promised, I just really want to run you through some of the differences of all these pinpointers and why some cost a little bit more than others. Let's start with the higher end pinpointers, and we'll start with the TRX, the Garrett Carrot, and also the XP mi-6. Now, these three pinpointers, their biggest difference between the other two cheaper ones is the ability to be able to retune them on a target. So, for example, I can't remember which one I've got the battery in. I'll have to use the XP because it's the only one I've actually got a battery in. And, sorry, I've just got to put it on a program that we can hear. All right, excellent. So, with a higher end pinpointer, what we can do is, as it's coming at a target, and we can hear it's making a noise there, is actually hit the power button and tune the target out, or tune it closer. That was probably a little bit too close and not the best example, but as we come in here, no noise. And we can retune on the target, and to the point where we could disappear the target altogether. So we've effectively balanced the pinpointer on a $2 coin. Now, that feature's fantastic because not only can we retune on the target, we can also retune on the ground. So in hot ground or horrible ground or wherever, we can actually tune the pinpointer simply by retuning it against the ground. And then you can go in and know that when it's activating on your target and not on something fake. So all three of the higher end pinpointers, and they range in price from about $250 to about $270. That's the really main feature. All the pinpointers except the Mars one have some sort of lighting on the end, and I'm just trying to point them at the camera so you can see them. Have some sort of lighting at the end for you. The Land or Sea actually has the addition of the little red flashing target indicator light because this one can be used, or is designed to be used, really in salt water and underwater when you've got goggles and heaps of stuff on, you can't hear them. So that one does give you a visual aid, and I think I pointed out in the testing it does have a very bright light. So the other thing with the higher end pinpointers, and it's really, when you look at them, all five of these things, and we look at the test results, what's interesting is there's really not much difference as far as range and all that sort of thing goes. Sure, there's quality things and maybe longevity and stuff like that, and things like the mi-6 can integrate with your XP Deus and, cool little things like having heaps of sensitivity levels and being able to retune and da-da-da-da-da. But at the end of the day, when you're smashing around the park looking for a couple of $2 coins, a MarsMD pinpointer for $139 is going to get you out of trouble, as is a Land or Sea if you want to get wet, because they're 100% waterproof. So realistically, it comes a lot down to, like buying a pair of board shorts or a T-shirt, what brand or sticker do you want on your gear? Because at the end of the day, there's not a massive amount of performance. Now, for the purist detectorist that's right into the hobby, and look, I'd probably class myself as one of those, I just prefer to have a higher quality pinpointer because it gives me faith in the gear. I know it works properly, blah, 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 blah. Not to say these don't work properly, I know they do. But just from experience, and look, I've been down the J-Car route and bought the Chinese knockoffs and all that stuff, and to save a few bucks, at the end of the day, you're going to end up paying a bit more because your knockoffs are going to fail. So I know I'm kind of going around in circles and all the rest of it in this kind of wrap-up, but I think when we look at the results of especially at maximum range, there's really, from the lowest to the highest, is 2.5 centimeters or an inch, and 4 of them come within 10 millimeters of each other. So is $120 or $150 worth an extra 10 mil in range? That's kind of what you got to ask yourself. And is the retune feature something you need? So that's probably it. Waterproof wise, all the high end ones, including the Land or Sea, actually are waterproof. So you have no fear there of washing them down and getting them muddy and that sort of thing. Again, with the higher end pinpointers, you can buy parts for them, so you can replace the cases if the points wear out. I do recommend some type of cover on your pinpointer, just on the ends here. And normally on mine, I have some sort of rubber capping on here. And just as a little hint, I'm going to show you on the TRX. It's probably hard, but I'll use the TRX for an example. Just here, you'll see the speaker holes. Now, a lot of the pointers have them. The Garrett setup looks a bit different, so it might not apply to the Garrett one. I've got very little experience with it, I'm sorry, but the Landor C is very similar, speaker hole. Mi-6 is completely sealed. It has no speaker hole, so it doesn't count for that one. And just here on the MARSMD, little speaker hole there. All right, now with these speaker holes, that's a pinpointer's weakness. So what a little hack you can do, and one thing I recommend everyone does, is just put a little run of tape straight around your pinpointer over the top of those speaker holes. Now, it'll kill the sound off a little bit, but you'll still be able to hear it fine, and most people have them on vibrate, which kills batteries. But anyway, by covering that, you're going to keep the dirt out, because behind this is a little membrane, and quite often what happens is dirt gets packed into the holes, and then you go home and there's a bit of dirt left in there. Next time you go hunting, the next bit of dirt, and it compresses in there and cracks through that membrane. That breaks your waterproofing. Now, when you send them in, that's how they dud you on your warranty, by saying, no, it's user error because you never kept your gear in good condition. So just a little hack, put a piece of tape around any little speaker hole that your pinpointer might have. And it's not to keep water out, it's to keep the dirt and the mud and the sand and that sort of stuff out, and keep that. You can actually see it with the Landor C, that little silver or whitish thing behind there. That's the membrane, and we really want to protect that, because at the end of the day, that's the difference between having a waterproof pinpointer and having one that leaks like a sieve. So that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you got something out of it. Sorry for waffling on. If you've got any questions, you know my website. It's right there. Feel free to reach out, Facebook, whatever you prefer, and I'll try and answer them. Hopefully that makes your decision a little bit easier, and you're still with me and haven't fallen asleep. Thanks very much. Really appreciate it. I'm Cleggy for detectorist.com.au, and I'll see you in another video at some other stage. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.